Welcome to the All New Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group guide to the Marvel Comics of the week. As always, I am Phil Parrish, joined by
Charlie, yes, sir.
All right, Charlie, what did you read this week?
Okay, I'm gonna start off. You know what? Let's start off. Not on Battle World. Let's start off back in the good old 616. What is it before Battle World? Is it after Battle World? We don't know because it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., inspired by the hit TV series. So we open up with, and of course, on the cover, you've got Gemma and May, and May's got Dominic Fortune in an arm lock, and he's got a big red mark on his face where Gemma slapped him. And man, if there was ever a scene you wanted to see in a comic that wasn't in it, that was it. It's lovely. Good old Dominic Fortune. For those who don't recall, Dominic Fortune was a 1940s era hero, kind of a brigand for hire, essentially a mercenary. And he ran around with Nick Fury, Agent Carter, as we're going to see soon. When we're going to say this is the revised history, but sure. Not most recent Marvel appearance, but made his big appearance in Marvel Team Up. I forget the number, but it was one of my very first comic books I ever read. Was Dominic Fortune and Spider-Man Marvel Team Up, and it was basically Dominic Fortune as an old man because, of course, he had aged. Now, at various points in Dominic Fortune's life, he has gotten young again and gotten old again and gotten young again. He is once again old, and he has a riverboat casino called the Mississippi Queen, and he woke up one day to realize he had gambled it away to Hydra. So he calls on Coulson to come and help him out because, as it turns out, this media guy with a venture capitalist investor with a talk show is secretly Hydra, and he's the guy who currently is running the casino. So Coulson comes with Dominic, and Coulson, of course, makes this whole point about, I'm really sorry, our guards gassed you when Dominic first tries to get in contact with S.H.I.E.L.D., says, that people don't understand that you're one of the great heroes of the Golden Age, yada, yada, yada. And Dominic goes on to basically disappoint Coulson at every turn. Showing, basically selling out Coulson to Tug and his thugs, getting Coulson tossed in the brig. But of course, this was all part of Dominic's master plan because he goes out sneaking to get evidence of what the plan is. And of course, what the actual plan was Tug invited all of these billionaires to his, to the casino. And then he's got a little device that's basically downloading all the information off of all of their wireless devices, enough to wreck the economy for Hydra. Dun, dun, dun. Dominic tries to thwart the scheme, and of course, immediately gets thrown to jail, into the brig, because he is an old guy. He's a septuagenarian, and even though he's a big old guy, he's still an old guy, and these are young, spry men who are beating him up. Anyway, Coulson basically, calls in the backup, says, "No, I've got you, Dominic, and it's okay." He calls in the backup. S.H.I.E.L.D. comes, arrests everybody. They're looking for the bomb. They find it, of course, on Dominic's bedpost. And meanwhile, Tug and his accomplice are getting away. And Coulson says it's only money. And Dominic says, I like money. And he takes the bomb, throws it on the helicopter, blows it up, killing both of the people inside, assumably, along with all the data they were stealing for Hydra, which is probably good in the long run that the economy wasn't destroyed by Hydra. Anyway, so he gets his deed to his boat back, and he's very happy. And Dominic tells Coulson, "I owe you one," and Dominic says, "Nah, we're even." Says, "I've always had a tendency to romanticize your generation. Thanks to you, I'm over it." And Dominic says, "Good, because you know what? A lot of us were just brigands for hire. We can't all be Captain America. Fun book, enjoyable. Always glad to see Dominic Fortune. Would love to have gotten a little bit of explanation for why he's not young again. Since the last time I saw him, he was young again. But just so happy to see Dominic Fortune. Really hoping Dominic makes an appearance in Peggy Carter. Fingers crossed, Dominic Fortune in Peggy Carter. Make it happen, Marvel. But aside from that, and honestly, if there was ever a role in the Marvel Universe that Bruce Campbell was born to play, it's Dominic Fortune. Oh, I would love to see that. That would just make my year. But thumbs up, big thumbs up for Dominic Fortune in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And you know what? Don't romanticize the Golden Age. Those guys did what they had to do, and some of them were kind of jerks about it. What's your first book on your own there, Phil?
Well, it's my only Battle World book this week. It's Age of Apocalypse #5, the final issue of this series. We join it, as they say, already in progress. We have Wolverine and the Summers brothers battling Dr. Nemesis in New Cairo, because Dr. Nemesis thinks he's going to be like the new ruler of the mutant race, since, as we saw last issue, Apocalypse and Magneto are both dead now. And so everyone's attacking him to little or no effect. And in the human communal village, we see, where Magneto's lying dead, and the White Queen, his wife's holding him, and everyone's like, what are we going to do? And then Dr. Nemesis shows up, puts what looks like an optic blast through the Dark Beast, because the Dark Beast said he knew how to cure the Legacy virus. So as the Beast is laying there dying, Emma Frost comes over, and she's like, I'm going to absorb every thought, every memory you have. So she gains the knowledge of the cure, and she tells Blink, take me to his lab now. And meanwhile, Rogue and whoever's left are trying to keep Nemesis preoccupied. But down in the lab, they figure out the key to the cure is Jean Grey. And Wolverine comes out with Jean. Yes, of course. And they said, I guess, she had, part of her brain surgically removed that I guess kind of took away her abilities, or at least her ability to control them. So they come up with a plan. Emma says, well, if she can do it, I can do it, so we can take out the part of my brain and put it in Jean Grey's head. Yeah. So they're gonna start trying to figure out how to do the surgery, and Cyclops comes in and says, you're not gonna touch her, you're not gonna butcher her again. And Wolverine's like, well, it's your fault she's here in the first place. And of course Burner's like, hey, we don't have time for this. And Mr. Sinister arrives and says, yes, that's right, we don't have the time to do this. And he says, although I respect Miss Frost's many talents, performing brain surgery on herself does not count among them. So what say we dig in, as he picks up a scalpel. And of course, Dr. Nemesis is rampaging up above. So everyone else goes back up, and they're battling him, keeping him busy until Burner gets killed. And Cyclops goes, Adam, why did you sacrifice yourself? And Burner says, because that's what brothers do. So I guess Burner wasn't a third Summers brother.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still baffled by the science here with brain surgery, and not for nothing, doesn't Mr. Sinister have like 6 Jean Grey clones somewhere that he could just, well, here's that brain part you were missing.
Yeah, who knows? Well, I guess Mr. Sinister.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but well, I don't know if it could work this way. Well, once Jean gets her powers back, of course she's the Phoenix. And basically
that's probably why they took that part out in the first place.
Yeah, so she literally rips Dr. Nemesis apart. And once, she uses, she uses up all of the Phoenix Force, curing the, well, she cures the mutant race, and at the same time takes away their power. All their powers get taken away. Just like everyone lost their powers in Civil War last week. But yeah, all the mutants lose their powers, and I guess supposedly it's a happily ever after because the last thing they show is Jean and Cyclops, who now doesn't have to wear his visor. So it says, will we choose? Yeah, will we choose the nightmare and continue to live with hate, or will we live the dream and choose love?
Choose love.
But good wrap up to the series. Thumbs up.
Oh, that's very sweet. Okay, yes, no, it sounds very good. It sounds well. Speaking of people losing their powers, let's go to 1872. Okay, so when last we left our intrepid heroes, evil Simon Williams was beating poor old Doc Banner to a pulp with his mighty ability to beat people up. Because sure, no, I mean, yeah, that's his power. It's 1872. You don't really have a lot of superpowers, right?
That's
right?
True. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Meanwhile, we hear the screams of poor Black Widow, the poor Widow Barnes, in the cabin, going, "Ah, heavens, mercy, help!" And Simon says, "You're the one doing it to her, Banner. If you don't talk, she's gonna get more." And one of the fellas comes back to go check on the progress and says, "Hey, fellers, make sure she can still talk. What you doing?" And she's sitting there going, "Oh, God, please stop off," as she's filing her nails with her little dagger and says, "Here for your turn." And next scene is the cut to the beautiful map of Timely Valley. I wonder what that spot is that's all blurry. Interesting. And then you hear the "yeah" scream from there anymore. Van Williams is going, "Listen to the poor woman scream. Please stop, don't hurt her," says Banner, as Simon is basically delighting in his evilness as Black Widow sneaks up behind him and shivs him right in the neck, basically severing his spine. So he falls down, unable to move, and slowly dies as Widow picks up Banner to take him to the dam to finish the job. Meanwhile, Fisk takes out a big old case of gold, says a handsome bonus shall be paid for the killing shot. And one of his guys says, "Begging your pardon, sir, but what good is a pistol against that?" Cut to steampunk Iron Man in his 1872 armor. Tony Stark says, "Let every man have an advanced and fair warning. You can go home and sleep in your beds or die in the streets." Fighting, shooting, Krell rides up on a donkey, and Stark takes a Tesla coil and shocks the donkey. Comments that he apologizes. He was aiming for Krell, but he needs to make bigger eye holes next time. Red Wolf rounds the corner, faces Elektra. Asks why, and she says, "I took his silver." And then Red Wolf says, "Then you will have my lead." Staring Sergio Argento bit there, and then bam. Sorry, Sergio Leone, not Sergio Argento. Oh, that's embarrassing. A slightly different artist. Although Sergio Argento is appropriate for comic books, but not quite the old West comics. Moving right along. So meanwhile, back at the dam, where, just to give you a little bit of fun with Battle World, it's night at the dam, even though it's still daytime in Timely. So okay.
That's Battle World.
Johnny Storm is just falling down on the job, is what I'm telling you, basically. He's not putting the sun everywhere. It's like, oh, this part's dark, this part's light. I don't know. I'm a fake sun. Meanwhile, back in the jungle. Basically, because as we will recall, they were pouring the elixir down or the bomb chemical down poor old Doc Banner's throat. It says he does not have time to make a fuse. He's going to have to deliver the catalyst himself. And asks Black Widow asks what she can do. He says, "Don't go back." He says, "Don't go back to Timely." He pours in the chemical, starts a delightful little green Kirby crackling reaction, and as Black Widow rides off in the distance, you see a big mushroom cloud. Baboo! And then we see the old Indian fella from the first issue, smiling quietly to himself as he looks through the seal of the Sanctum Sanctorum outside his little tent and smiles and says, "Good, good. Now we can focus on the problem lurking in the mines," whipping out a bunch of really not 1872-y looking weapons. Meanwhile, back in the city, Red Wolf is battling Fisk. Get a great little shadow of the Red Wolf spirit behind him as Red Wolf knocks Fisk out. They have a little brawl in the street. I like one thing they're doing here where they're very much meeting out a very similar relationship with Fisk as you see in the Daredevil Netflix series, where it's about he loves his city, he's going to build his city, whether or not you like it or not, and if you get in his way, you're dead, but he's going to make the city what he wants it to be, which is after Fisk stabs him in the eye with the sheriff's badge and then holds him at gunpoint and walks him to prison. He's going to kill him, but then he's like, but that's not what Steve would have done. So he's going to take him to the prison. And as he's going to the prison, he said, Red Wolf says, "A council will be convened, and then you will hang for your crimes." And Fisk says, "Ha, that day will never come. A man like me is not put on trial." And Red Wolf says, "A rich white man." And Fisk says, "A hero." And then Black Widow says, "He's right. There ain't going to be no trial," and shoots him in the head. She says, "I suppose working timely is never done." Of course, Red Wolf says, "I could have done that if I had wanted to." She says, "You made me a promise. I ought to shoot you too." Says, "Is the dam, is it done?" He says, "Yes, because I know how to hold my end of a bargain." Meanwhile, everyone's celebrating in the streets because Fisk is dead, and Red Wolf shouts, "Stop firing guns!" and says to Stark, "Is this town the place where all the nations of the world send their crazy people?" And Stark says, "Rogers used to ask that exact same thought." Basically, we get our little closing story montage here. Red Wolf's going to stay the sheriff. A little fellow says his father Norman is missing, and Red Wolf says, "We'll help you find him." Gee, I wonder what Mr. Norman could be up to. Meanwhile, Carol Danvers is elected the new mayor. Red Wolf is officially the sheriff. The retraction about who really killed Rogers comes a little too late. As what I just realized this is supposed to be the Chameleon, because it's a man with a big white mask on, like cowboy clothes, but is shot dead by the Punisher, by Reverend Castle and the Merc. And I wasn't sure who the Merc was at first, and I noticed he's got a little Deadpool belt buckle, although he's actually got a handsome face, long red hair. So I don't quite know if it's supposed to be Deadpool or what, but we'll find that out later. Meanwhile, as we're getting our closing monologue, it says, "The unwanted visitors would have been bad enough, but Timely began taking on quality that I can only describe as supernatural." Cut to a little spider crawling through a little pool of green liquid. Cut out to see that the pool of big green liquid is in the shape of a giant foot. And then cut to little green spider now wandering towards the Parker homestead. Gee, I wonder where all this is going. But the Avengers are protecting Timely from within and without. And cut to a little closing shot of Red Wolf and Natasha and some other dude who we never had seen in the scene riding out with them. but he looks like he's bald with a little beard and goatee. So I'm hoping I'm hoping D-Man. Um, and Stark up in his with Stark Industries written on the top of his building with the giant Iron Man armor there, waving to them as they ride off. Says the Avengers of the West will return. So great close for 1872. One of really, honestly, one of my favorite books on Battleworld at this point. I think it really came together at the end, set up where they were going, and loving 1872. Pretty, I really haven't picked my pick of the week yet, but 1872 comes real darn close.
So thumbs up.
Oh, very much thumbs up. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting excited.
No, that's okay. All right. Well, then I guess I'll jump into.
Yes, you get excited.
Well, all right, then I'll jump into Amazing Spider-Man #2, which had no mention of Otto this week. Making us wait.
Which is why it didn't get picked up by me, quite frankly. I'll come back when Otto comes back. Oh.
Yeah, all right. Well, it opens up in San Francisco at Parker Industries, where Peter's talking to his investors. They're there holographically, and they're complaining about, why is the company being targeted by Zodiac? How did they steal the webware? And Peter said, well, lives were at risk, and the whole thing's encrypted. So he's like, my head of security, Hobie Brown's going to find it. He's like, but I have to go now. And they're like, what's more important than this? And Peter goes, I'm going fishing. Flash to the middle of the ocean, some kind of spider boat, and Spider-Man and the Prowler in it. And the Prowler's like, wait, so you're tracking your iWatch? And Spider-Man's like, no, way more sophisticated than an iWatch. And he's like, yeah. He's like, but remember one of our first fights? He's like, you tagged me with a spider tracer, and you had trouble finding me in the Bronx. And Spider-Man's like, come on, Hobie, I built that in high school with like $20 worth of parts. And he says, okay, so more than $20 then? And Peter says, yeah, $49.99. And they show, I guess he's selling spider tracers now. Lose your keys, lose your cell phone, just clip a spider tracer to it. You'll find it in no time. And the Prowler says, okay, so you're selling them for $49.99. How much do they really cost? And Peter says, $16.23. And he says, the Prowler says, people used to call me a crook. So they find the Aquarius base, and they come in a holographic disguise as a humpback whale. Because there's an Aquarius agent outside patrolling, and he's like, why am I patrolling? He's like, we're in the middle of nowhere in the bottom of the ocean. He's like, I think patrolling draws more attention to our secret base. So Spider-Man and Prowler break in, and because Prowler says, you can't keep quiet for 2 seconds. Spider-Man's like, yeah, I can. And Prowler says, $49.99 says you can't. And Spider-Man says, you're on. So they get all quiet, breaking into the base. They take out some of the hired help. And they track down the webware, which a couple of the Aquarius, or some of the Zodiac leaders are working on, until they come in, and one of the leaders sees, he's like, there's Spider-Man and some guy up there. And Prowler says, some guy. And Spider-Man says, yep, some guy who owes me $50. And everything, and they start taking out the Zodiac members, until who is this? One of their leaders sends all the webware's information to all their Zodiac bases around the world, and Spider-Man says it doesn't matter, it's all still encrypted. And the leader's like, for how long? With thousands of our minds working around the clock? He's like, we'll figure it out. So, and she arms to self-destruct, so they all have to run out. And on their way out, Spider-Man and Prowler pick up 2 of the lackeys they webbed up who couldn't get away. And because Prowler's like, we're the good guys, right? And Spider-Man's like, yep, when blowing up secret underwater bases, He's like, no one. He's like, never leave people behind. And we see a flashback to his story. It was like right before Superior Spider-Man when Peter had to go save the world, and he basically had to leave Silver Sable behind to die. So
Poignant.
They all get out. What's that?
I said poignant.
But yeah, they all get out, and then they call Fury and Mockingbird in Shanghai, and they reveal that they wanted the Zodiac to send the encrypted data to all their bases around the world, because now they can track that signal, and they're going to track down all the Zodiac bases.
Brilliant.
Yes, spy stuff.
Dun, dun, dun.
But the issue ends in off the some island off the coast of Guatemala, where a shadowy figure, who we only see in a red business suit, we can't see his face.
Oh, yeah.
He finds the Rhino drowning in sorrows, and looks like tequila.
Oh, that's who that was.
Yeah, that's the Rhino, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you saw this part? Yeah, he tells
him.
Yeah,
I did. I reached through it in the store, and I really liked it. But especially when you got to this Ed scene, and I didn't really, because I guess he finally got the freaking skin removed. So good for Rhino.
Yeah, because he was. I think in one of the last stories he was kind of living a normal life, but then he got drawn back in by a new Rhino, and like in the whole battle, his wife got killed. I think that's his wife. Yeah, he gets killed. That's who the shadowy figure, shows him that, here's your wife, not, she's alive, not dead. So
yes, and he says impossible, and he says, "Oh, there's little that's impossible for me." And man, if there was anything that was gonna pique your curiosity, that is it.
Yeah,
I mean, is this Doom with some kind of magical power? He's wearing a red suit instead of green, so as not to tip his hat. Is this Mephisto? Is this
Otto?
It could be Otto. That was actually one of the things I was thinking, is that we saw Otto in the Superior Spider-Man send out a little Otto robot that he was controlling remotely to do his dirty work as Otto a couple of times, and could that be Otto? Could Oksana be another robot that he's just sent in to look like Oksana?
So what you're saying is it possible? No, sorry. So possibly it could be an Autobot.
But yes, it could be an Autobot. Oh, oh no. But yeah, that was very intriguing to me. But actually, you know who I thought it could be? Okay, so back during, I think it was Dark Reign, they did a Zodiac episode. They did a Zodiac one-shot where there was this character who went by the name Zodiac, who basically went and killed the entire Zodiac quadrille. Because he said, hey, I've got to maintain my brand. And he was sort of this agent of chaos, evil guy, wore a bag on his head, wore like a little burlap bag. That was his thing. And he was he also he did have some associations with Spider-Man because one of his henchmen was like a Spider-Man villain, but like a real minor one. And I was just thinking, they're not showing his face. Maybe it's because he's got a bag on his head. Just because it would tie into Zodiac, it would tie into all this. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's my prediction. That's the Zodiac. We're going to see that he's behind the Zodiac going after Parker for some reason. If perhaps just to instill more chaos. But no, it was a real intriguing end and almost made me buy it. But it was so many books.
Oh yeah. But yeah, thumbs up. What's your last book on your?
My last book on my own, which I'm going to say is my pick of the week. Agents of Atlas. Dun dun dun. Back to Battle World. So basically, in this realm, Metropolitia, or however you want to pronounce it. Basically, this is a world controlled by Baron Zemo. Shield is his Gestapo. And everyone, much like if you've ever seen the film Metropolis, is sort of essentially a slave to Zemo, working towards keeping his factories running, and everyone's in uniform, everyone's eating in the cafeteria, everyone's marching back and forth producing weapons for all of Battle World. Dun dun dun. But there is hidden in Battle World a group of people who are fighting against him, the Agents of Atlas. And apparently, somehow in this world, Gorilla Man is a known quantity. I don't know. Just go along with it. And one thing I got to say, the art in this book is so much fun. It's got this real, like early Silver Age, like futurist design. So it's like how people imagine the future would look, which makes it look very retro in our modern world. But basically, Director Coulson, head of S.H.I.E.L.D., has called in Gorilla Man to speak with him. His assistant refers to Gorilla Man as a monkey, and he says, "Are you sure it's good having a guy here who doesn't know the difference between a monkey and a gorilla?" No. Anyway, Coulson says, Jimmy Woo is missing, and Gorilla Man says, "Who's Jimmy Woo?" For those not aware, Jimmy Woo is the head of the Agents of Atlas. He was an old school S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, a guy primed to show up in Agent Carter. So look for that. Look for a guy to be an Agent Carter. If you see them casting an Asian guy in Agent Carter, it's Jimmy Woo. Fingers crossed. And maybe we'll get the Agents of Atlas then. Gorilla Man is one of his members, along with X-11, a superpowered Gort-style robot. Namora, who was Namor's old squeeze during World War II. They kind of had a falling out eventually. And she might be Namor's cousin. I forget exactly what her storyline was. She's Namor's cousin, that's right, because she's another human Atlantean hybrid. And, of course, Venus, the goddess, although not quite. Anyway, Gorilla Man tells Coulson the last time he saw Woo, they were liberating this train, and during the fight, Venus was using her siren song to turn all the Weapon X's towards her, so they would not fight anyone. And the Gorilla Man and Jimmy Woo got caught up in Venus's song as well. So after they've killed the bad guys and freed the train and freed the people that were being taken for experimentation back at Zemo's headquarters, they told Venus to sort of separate because they were worried that if she got she caught them in her song again, that they would be that would be detrimental to the team. Coulson basically explains that him and Jimmy Woo had been working together for a while because Coulson doesn't like Zemo either. And Coulson says, "Why do you think you've been able to hide for so long?" And Gorilla Man says, "We're very good at hiding." And he says, "You're not that good." And basically Gorilla Man says, "Yes, we are." And then the rest of the team, Namora, X-11, and Marvel Boy, basically appear in Coulson's office because they had been hiding the whole time. They all disappear to go free Jimmy Woo, who's being held at Zemo's castle. They go in, they take out some bad guys. Gorilla Man finds Jimmy Woo. He's tied up. He's motioning towards an Iron Maiden in the corner, and Gorilla Man opens it up, and a little boy falls, or a teenage boy falls out, and then Gorilla Man goes to free Jimmy Woo, and Jimmy Woo says, "The boy," and Gorilla Man says, "It's okay, I freed him. We'll take him with." And says, "No, he's not a prisoner. He's Schleck," stabbing Gorilla Man in the throat. "No," says Jimmy Woo, and there's And I'm gonna say, this is just about the best evil young man picture you're ever gonna see. Is Helmut Zemo standing over the dead body of Gorilla Man with a bloody curved knife, saying, "I am Helmut Zemo, you pathetic expletive monkey." He said, "Woo's allies have come for him." He's talking in a little voice box. They're in the castle. Release Father's army. And all the X11, or sorry, the X-Men, the Weapon X program. So they've got like the whole big metal box on their head with the little thing and, claws and whatnot. They all come marching out of the dungeons to attack. And then Zemo goes to kill Wu. And then there's this magical light coming off of Gorilla Man because, as mentioned earlier, when Coulson was holding a gun to Gorilla Man, and he says, "It's a curse. You kill me, it goes to you. It's horrible. None of your shoes will fit." And Little Helmet becomes a gorilla. And basically, X11 pushes Helmet down. They gather up Wu. Ken is dead. It's very sad. X11 picks up Ken because he's not going to leave his friend behind because X11, kind of broody here. He does not talk except for the one moment where he says no when they suggest leaving Ken behind. And then up shows Baron Zemo, who, honestly, I'm going to say has like some of the weirdest drawn anatomy I've ever seen because he's got like the Hulk leg. He's got like Hulk legs, but the rest of him is kind of normal. It's just very weird to see. It's kind of distracting, but overall, I'm going to overlook it in the story, especially with everything else going on because it's all very cool. And of course, Coulson gets shot.
Oh,
yeah, but maybe he'll live. Maybe Marvel Boy can save him, because basically, Coulson says, "Marvel Boy, did?" And he says, "Yes, it's all right, Phil Coulson. I found her," and in walks Venus. Because as it turns out, the whole thing was Zemo had basically when Venus had caught everyone in her song, it also was broadcast through the Weapon X speaker system. So Zemo got caught in the song, so he's become obsessed with her, wanted to wed her as her to be his Baroness, and she says to Zemo, "Do you know what I am?" And he says, "A goddess." And she says, "No, but you're not the first to make the mistake. I was a siren. Do you know what that means?" He says, "You sang beautiful songs and men fell in love with you." And she says, "I sang beautiful songs and lured men to their deaths," as he falls off the parapet of the castle. And Gorilla Zemo says, "No." And Wu says, "He's gone. You're Baron now." He says, "If you report this to Doom, Doom could send others to rule who will make life even harder for us. If they come, I doubt they'll let you be anything." And Zemo says, "I don't want to be nothing." He says, "No, so be Baron. Be a better Baron than the stain on the ground down there. You will stop taking people. Atlas will help anyone who needs our help, and you will stay out of our way. We're very good at hiding, you pathetic little monkey Baron. You'll never know we're watching you. Don't piss us off." Dun dun dun. Yes. Just a great book a one-shot that just encapsulates everything that's great about the concept of Agents of Atlas, who were the 1950s version of the Avengers, from a what if that asked, what if the Avengers were founded in the 1950s? And it's just a great little book, and just because I love the Agents of Atlas, I had to pick it up. I'm glad I did, and you know what? I hope that my pennies going towards Agents of Atlas reminds Marvel that, hey, Agents of Atlas is a great product. Do more with them, and maybe put them into Agent Carter this year. So big thumbs up. My pick of the week, Agents of Atlas.
awesome.
Yes, it was. So what do you want to do as our first book together?
You want to do the Astonishing Ant-Man number 1?
Let's do Astonishing Ant-Man. So do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, because I have some questions. I have like one big question about this.
Okay.
Well, I love the first page where it says, Scott Lang is a Miami area small business owner with a teenage daughter and an ex-wife. Oh, and he's Ant-Man.
Well, he is.
But yeah, on the next page where he's saying like 8 months, where does the time go? And he's talking about all the stuff he did. Like towards the bottom where it says like, after he's done saying, hey, I got a new phone, did this, he's like, but beyond that, kind of drawing a blank. So is he saying like the last 8 months is kind of fuzzy?
Yeah, see, I got that too, and it got me thinking, are they saying that maybe this 8 month jump isn't quite an 8 month jump? Um,
They just think it's an 8-month jump.
exactly. And we're actually going to reference this. It's interesting because they did. And we'll talk about this a bit in Super Connectivity. They released the preview for Captain America 2, and they actually have what's her name? Hill. They have Director Hill referencing the incursion events and basically suggesting that this is something that this is something that has existed. So people have memory of these incursions. So exactly what people are remembering, where the world is put back together, it's not quite clear. And so yeah, but yes, that might just be a distraction, a little MacGuffin there for us. Well, not a MacGuffin, but a red herring for us. Mm-hmm. But no, it definitely gives the implication that hey, maybe what we think is this past 8 months, it's a blur because maybe 8 months really haven't passed. Maybe they rebuilt the universe at this point 8 months ahead just to get us to this point. Just to sort of explain away Battleworld, because if people had actual memories of Battleworld, that would be bad. Yes. So, going on from there, we get a nice little bit with Scott, trying to be a good dad. Although, I think actually one of the things that's kind of interesting to me about that, because they are trying to make Scott seem like a good dad, but I also kind of got the feeling that they were also making the point that he's not that good of a dad. I mean, this was something you had brought up in the last issue of Ant-Man, which was that, if you knew it was the end of the world, wouldn't you do everything you could to be with your family? And he doesn't, and that's because he's not that good of a dad. And while he is, he's being there, it's not, just being there isn't really enough if you're not going to be there emotionally. And that's the thing, he's physically making himself there because that's the easiest thing to do. To just be physically there is easy. To be emotionally there is hard. To have to weigh the question is, do I be a superhero or do I be a father? Which is kind of a false dichotomy in and of itself, considering that this man hung out with the Fantastic Four, who do the superhero life balance better than anybody. Especially when his daughter actually used to be a superhero as well, which they reference in this book. And I think it is kind of going into this idea that Scott isn't that good as being a father. I think it's like Scott talks a good game, wants to be a decent guy, but really, blows it because he's just not that into caring about other people as much as he really should be. At least that maybe I'm reading too much into it, but...
No, you're right. It could just even be a thing if maybe he doesn't know how to care about people.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's why most people who don't care about people care about people because they don't know how to. Anyway, getting back into the story, what did you think of the new power broker?
Yeah, I don't know. So it's obviously not the old power broker.
No. What's weird is like when I first saw him, I was like, is that Purple Man? Is that supposed to be Purple Man? Is he like the son of Purple Man? I'm not quite sure. He's very purple. Let's start with that. For those who haven't picked up the book, he's a purple guy with like a glowing brooch around his neck. So maybe he's like a weird little robot thing on his jaw.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
It very much gives the implication that he's like not like he's manufactured in some way. Like he is maybe. And maybe that's going to tie into Black Ant, because Black Ant is coming back in the Illuminati storyline. And this story actually seems to, I mean, really, when you think about what the Illuminati is about, this could very much tie into the Illuminati and the Black Ant, in that the Black Ant, of course, was an LMD made to look like, what's his name? O'Grady. But was a fully sentient LMD. And the Illuminati's like whole thrust is making the world better for low-level criminals, and the Hench app seems to tie into that pretty nicely, So maybe Power Broker is an artificial human being like Black Ant, and maybe that's what that's about. I'm not sure. Anyway, their super advanced algorithm, looking for a perfect villain to fight Ant-Man, picks the Wizard. or not the Whizzer, Whirlwind.
Whirlwind.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Human Top. They call him the Human Top to fight the Ant-Man, old school. For those who don't remember, kids, the Human Top is a mutant with super speedster powers, but his powers only work when he's spinning.
Hmm?
This is true. I read this in the handbook to the Marvel Universe. Powers only work when he's spinning. So he's like Quicksilver, but only in a circular motion. And this causes him to create big whirlwinds, which are, they say, uniquely suited to fight Ant-Man for some reason. Sure. And they're going to be basically, Power Broker is blackmailing Cross, saying he wants $1.2 billion, a $1.2 billion investment into the Hench app, and basically Whirlwind is about to kill Scott Lang, and then gets the call to say call it off because this was just a demonstration, which frustrates Cross, makes him grow big, knock his head through a ceiling, and then Scott Lang loses the gig, sadly, and somehow has wound up in prison again. And they don't quite explain that.
Okay, at first I thought it was during the supposed 8 months, but okay, so now he's in prison in the present day. Okay. Sorry, that just confused me. I thought it was during the 8 months.
So yes. So what this is the story device is it opens up with him reminiscing about what happened in these months, saying it's all a blur, and then we jump to the end here, and it's he's in prison, presumably not for whatever this event was with smashing up the museum, but possibly something else, and but I'm sure we'll see that all in the next couple of months. The incarcerated Ant-Man. Although, hey, for fun, remember what I was complaining about with the start of the my son had to come in to tell me that he loved it. But when we opened it up, I complained, like, what happened to Ms. Thing? He was having this whole relationship in FF, and now he's out here, and of course, next issue, Ms. Thing comes back to say, "Where the heck have you been, Mr. Lang?" And again, kind of makes this point that Scott Lang not very good at human relationships. I mean, I liked Ant-Man. Thumbs up for me.
Oh yeah, thumbs up for me too.
Okay, which brings us to our last book this week.
My pick of the week.
Your pick of the week. It's a good book, Invincible Iron Man. And honestly, I think I think very much I was just moved by the Agents of Atlas as I love them so much. But yes, this was a great book, and it's so hard to tell if they're saying that Doom still has a scar or not.
Oh, I know,
because they're clearly putting darker shading on that one side of his face, and it's always the left side of his right? Yeah, left side of his face. And it does look like they're suggesting a little scar underneath his eye, which is what it's supposed to be. It's a barely noticeable scar, but to Doom, it's enough. So we open up with Doom and Iron Man in Latveria. Doom has got a little magic shield, which is protecting him from various Iron Manery, and Doom is like saying, she was trying to steal my wand of Batum, and he's so anyway, yes. So basically, what Doom says is, actually, one of the things I love in this is that he he transforms the armor like from nowhere into Hulkbuster armor, and I do love that. That's
yeah. Well, he said in the first issue he's combined the abilities of every armor he's ever had into this armor.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing, and it's like seeing it in this way. It really opens up what he can do with the armor, and in a universe with Pym particles, you don't have to worry too much about the physics.
Yeah,
but it's just really awesome seeing him knowing that now the Iron Man armor can just hulk out like that, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, but once again, the Secret Wars question. It's like Tony never brought up that Doom's role in Secret Wars. He talked about when they went back in time years ago, and like I think it was Iron Man 150. But yeah, no mention of Secret Wars again.
Exactly, and that's what's interesting about it, which is what's interesting about all of this. And I do love the line of Tony saying, "I wouldn't say we have a history," and then you cut back to all the times they've had a history. Anyway, so Doom takes Tony down to his old Sanctum Sanctorum laboratory, takes out the Wand of Batum, and he says, "Wait, doesn't Doctor Strange have the Wand of Batum?" And he says, "Wait, Doctor Strange's Wand of Batum?" He says, "No, this one was mine." He says, "There's another one?" "Yes, you're looking at it. There may be 5 more across the different dimensions. This one was mine." And he's, because apparently, cracks in the universe keep on opening up on good old Earth 616, dropping as Drax said last issue of the Guardians, how many items of significant galactic universal import have to nearly kill you before you realize that there are a lot of items of infinite galactic import in this universe, and they're all falling out. So basically, Doom gives Tony the wand when Tony's like trying to get demand, give me answers, Mister. Doom sort of whisks him away. Yeah, I definitely think that's supposed to be a scar on the left side of his face, right underneath his eye. That definitely seems that's supposed to be. But I think it's supposed to be subtle, almost like shedding. And he transports him to the Bronx Zoo, and of course, Friday is giving him all kinds of nonsense about maybe we should have followed the trail like he had told us to do. I cannot believe I didn't build you with an off button. But of course, with an AI, it would be inappropriate to give it an off button. And not for nothing, how cruel is it that they shoot the Gigolo? I mean, yeah, it's out cold, but it's like, really, dude, he's just a working guy. He's just a guy doing his job. Who she was, I don't know, but him. And it's like, well, he was a whore. It's like, yeah, you don't kill. That's like sociopath 101, man. You're like really seeing people as objects, Whitney Frost. And Tony, why are you into that? Why are you into a freaking sociopath like that? She really lost me on that point, I mean, I know she's supposed to be a cold-blooded killer, but at a certain point, it's like you can be a cold-blooded killer, but not necessarily be just an absolute sociopath, and especially not a judgmental sociopath. So I'm not feeling the Whitney Frost here. That's pretty hard. Killing the Gigolo, that's pretty bad to me. What did you think?
Yeah. No, I agree with you, but I mean, it's Madame Mask. I think that was the whole point. Is they're trying to paint her as a psychopath, and maybe she's even more deranged because of the mystical objects she's going after. And
yeah, that could be it. Although she clearly has some power behind her because she's got some kind of a physic power there. Where it's shortening his armor as she tells him to die in our last page.
The armor he had hidden behind a holographic...
Yeah, stealth mode, man. All his armors have.
Yeah.
Because he's cool.
Must be pretty good if she didn't hear it coming. It must be pretty good.
Oh, that's how stealthy it is. It's whisper quiet. Yeah. No, I love the issue. It was a great issue. I'm just saying. I'm like I don't. It's like after that, I'm like, man, I don't. I know these people are supposed to be psychotic murderers, but like just a dude in the room who isn't going to cause no trouble if you just let him leave, and just and then just to like say that because he was a sex worker that's why he deserved to die. And I like Tony saying, "Hey, I don't judge,"
I was going to say, if he had a little more money, he'd be Tony Stark.
Well, Tony doesn't have to pay people and doesn't have to be paid because Tony does it for fun. This guy was a working man, you know?
Yeah.
Just a simple middle class working Canadian gigolo, and gets a bullet between the eyes for his trouble. Although as they say, you had to take that into account as an independent contractor, what the work is for.
Oh yeah.
We all remember from that whole thing in Clerks about the Death Star, the second Death Star being blown up, and it was probably filled with independent contractors, people with wives and families. But hey, you take that into account when you take a job, because you're saying, yeah, I need the money, but there are risks involved in working for the Empire in that way. But anyway, especially when the last one got blown up by a farm boy in the next one, because you can't hide that from the media. Well, that was our week, Phil.
Yeah, and before we go, I just wanted to mention real quick, we're recording Friday, October 23rd, and it was announced today that not only is there going to be an Hyperion and Nighthawk solo books, but also there's going to be another Iron Man book also written by Brian Michael Bendis that I guess is going to be kind of a companion to this Invincible Iron Man series.
It's called Batman. It's called Iron Man Incorporated. I'm sorry, International Iron Man. No,
International Iron Man, Man of Mystery.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I saw International Iron Man saying Batman Incorporated. What is this? Of course, that's kind of maybe
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man Incorporated. Yeah. And hey, and with Nighthawk coming in, it's like, oh, billionaire superheroes. That's sort of a thing now. Okay. I guess it was always a thing, but it's Of course, our Marvel's billionaire superheroes actually have powers sometimes. So, yes. Well, what's interesting about the Hyperion, and so there's actually going to be there's a Nighthawk series, a Hyperion series, and a Squadron Supreme series in which both of them are members of the new Squadron Supreme. What I find most interesting is that they're not both members of the same squad. I mean, they are of this Squadron Supreme, but they're actually from two different worlds. Because the Hyperion we have is a more classic Hyperion design. And I think, although I don't know if that's been confirmed, that he's the Hyperion we saw fighting with the Avengers, who lost his world in an incursion. This other one is the Supreme Powers Nighthawk, who we last saw actually on the Squadron Sinister world, where he was made the Duke of the Supreme Powers Squadron Supreme world after the Squadron Supreme took it over, which got me wondering if we might see Nighthawk from Squadron Supreme in here somewhere, because we actually never closed that series out, did we?
What which one?
The Secret Wars Squadron Supreme. We never got to the last issue of that, did we?
Well, yeah, I don't think not yet, because they're still ending.
Yeah, they're still ending. So I know, but that just struck me. Hey, how did that one end? So makes me wonder if that Nighthawk might show up later on too, and you can have a Nighthawk versus Nighthawk, which would be awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Let's get out of here.
You hear about more of this on Super Connectivity, kids.
That's right. But please share your thoughts with us. We really want to hear from you. I mean, if so much so, we're willing to give you free comic books. Maybe I'll put up a list of what I have. But yes, feedback will get you. We're not above bribing you for feedback. So you can contact us on Facebook. We're facebook.com/All New Marvel Roundup. On Twitter, we're @Marvel_Roundup. Email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. And of course, you can always get a hold of me to discuss anything Marvel and DC, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. And on Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And Charlie, where can the people find you?
You can write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter @Charlie&rsquo, where normally, although I didn't do it this last week because of stuff, normally I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and some other things on occasion. So feel free to stop on by and follow Charlie Esser or @CharlieEsser. Aside from that, like all our Facebook pages.
That's right. And come back next week. More good books are coming out. I even looked it up. Sam Wilson, Captain America #2 is coming out again.
Yes.
Deadpool vs. Thanos.
Yes.
Spider-Man 2099. House of M.
There's a lot of good books. Actually, I have 4 already pulled, and I got to figure out what my 5th book is going to be. Will it be What If? Dark Reign Infinity Gauntlet, or will it be one of the other books that I was also very intrigued by that I'm blanking on? But tune in
to find out. I was going to say, tune in and find out what Charlie picked.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, that's it, everyone. Like I said, join us next week. More fun and games are going on. And remember, in the all-new, all-different Marvel Universe, gigolos are an endangered species. Good night.
Good night.